Engineering is working on accessing the control systems. As soon as the ship is operational, we must make it combat ready.
Well, I would recommend that before we prepare for combat, we try to access the ship's logs, find out who we are, what our purpose here might be.
I disagree. We must first make ourselves ready for battle. That is the highest priority.
Engineering to bridge.
Go ahead.
I regained control of navigation, propulsion, weapons, and communications. We should be able to tie them into the bridge in just a few minutes.
Well done. Now we are ready.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Fully Functional, a TNG podcast. I'm Maggie, joined by Jeff and Dory.
Yo.
Jeff and I are Star Trek veterans, and Dory is a rookie Trekkie, and we are taking her on her first journey through Star Trek: The Next Generation. Today we're discussing the Season 5 episode Conundrum, original air date February 15th, 1992. And as always, we'll take it to Dory for the recap.
Okay, so we start off, the Enterprise is investigating a series of subspace signals that may indicate intelligent life in the Epsilon solar system.
Great.
Okay, so like Data, yeah. So Data and Troy are playing multi-level Star Trek chess.
Yeah.
And Data is absolutely shook because Troy did a move that he did not expect. It was not like part of any play or technique or whatever. And she's like, Data, I use intuition. Ever heard of it? So she wins. And so then she's like, Data, you owe me a Sumerian sunset made in the traditional style. I thought she was talking about a painting.
Oh.
I thought like a Sumerian sunset was like a literal, like a sun, like this was some kind of planet and there was a sunset.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't really know what the traditional style means in art.
You owe me a 1-to-1 reproduction of the Mona Lisa, done in the traditional style. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be like the sci-fi future space version of a tequila sunrise.
Basically,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. With a literal sunrise in it.
Yeah.
or no sunset. Okay, so then we cut to sickbay, and Dr. C is examining a young woman who apparently keeps getting hurt in the holodeck because she keeps like doing crazy like dives or
it's
whatever.
because the safeties are off.
Yeah. It's because she's doing like cliff diving, and she always picks like the super hard one.
Yeah, I feel like there's got to be more like caution signs or something about this. People seem to get hurt a lot in the holodeck. Okay, so then it's Ensign Ro is back.
She
and
is.
She's arguing with Riker because he's pretty pissed. She found a better way to do some kind of assessment, and he's like, listen, maybe if you came to me instead of just like doing this, this thing, I maybe would have considered it. And she's like, she didn't think that he would, but like honestly I do think that Riker would have heard her out. Riker doesn't seem like someone who would have just like casually been like, no, I don't care that you have something like to contribute that could actually make things better.
Yeah.
I feel like Riker would have listened to her.
Yeah, he would have. I do understand her hesitation, but I mean, this is an example of a character moment that actually feeds into who both of these characters are. So, I mean, bravo for them.
Yeah.
Bravo for the writer getting the characters right.
Yeah, because it makes sense that Ro wouldn't necessarily trust, because she's had so many situations where people have doubted her, and when she had like good ideas, and so it makes sense. She says though that she thinks that he's trying to turn her into a model officer, but he's like, no, I just want you to fucking follow the rules. Like, it's not that deep. Okay, so there is back on the bridge, there's a subspace signal, a small spacecraft, unrecognizable, and this spacecraft, they're scanning the Enterprise, but like the computer, and so they're like, shields up.
I love how Picard just kind of like puts his hands in like confused defeat, like, All right, shields up, I guess.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so in my notes, I drew a little like head, body, and arms doing kind of the like what like the like things, and I wrote shields up, LOL, and I did not remember what that was. Okay, so he does that thing. I did forgot that that's like he does that. Well, okay, so then cut to 10 forward, and we learned that the Sumerian sunset is a drink. So I'm like, what is like a traditional style of drink then? Like, what is this, like a straight bourbon? I don't know. Like what they Long Island iced tea? What is like a traditional drink
I think you're
style?
asking for more details than the episode is willing to give us. So, yeah, sorry.
Well,
Yeah,
I think there's recipes that are like, there's the original recipe, and then like people will make like modifications to it and stuff.
Like there's like you can go to KFC, or you can go to Mr. Kentucky's actual fried chicken restaurant. There is an actual Colonel Sanders restaurant that he started after he was unhappy with the direction of the company. Yeah.
Oh, wild.
That's funny.
So then Data, he is scanned with a green light. He's also behind the bar at 10 forward. So he gets scanned with the green light, and before that he says, I hope you enjoy it. And then he gets scanned, and then he says again, I hope you enjoy it. And Troy's like, what the fuck? And then, so then scanner has now penetrated the computers. And the computers are down. Yeah.
Bow chicka bow wow.
Yeah. And then a green light scans over everyone, and it just made me think of like a scanner, like a photocopier for like a big like machine. And so then everybody looks very confused. Oh no, everybody's lost their memory. And then so they do this shot where it's like it's Riker and Picard, and then like in between them, sort of like in the background, is some random guy, and I just wrote lol, some rando in this shot. And then like a moment later, then I'm like, oh, rando has lines.
And then more lines, and then more lines.
So Rando is a character we learned named Kieran McDuff, and he looks picture this with me for a moment. Kieran looks like a mix of if Fred Savage and Steve Guttenberg had a baby.
Yeah, he kind of does.
So yeah, Kieran, I wrote Rando so many times for this that like I'm like concerned I'm going to start calling him Rando, even though I know his name. Kieran, his name is Kieran. Okay. Oh, okay. So then Ro is able to figure out pretty quickly. So everybody's like lost their memory. They don't know what they're doing there. They don't know who they are. But she figures out pretty quickly that she's a pilot because she can use the computers, but like nothing else. And then everybody is just so fucking awkward. It's really funny. So then Riker's like looks at Picard and he's like, well, you must be in charge because you're like very decorated. But then Worf's like, but my sash, but I'm decorated too.
I like that Worf essentially wins arguments because he shouts his ideas first. And loudest.
Yeah, so they all just are like, I guess Worf's in charge
in
now.
his defense, he is the only one with a big ass sash like that, and that is a big ass sash.
Yeah. So there's no voice interface, like the computer is basically down, and so Worf tells the crew to pick a rep from like all the various groups throughout the ship right now, and to give a report, a status report, just seeing how everybody is. So Dr. C is still in the sick bay, and she just like picks up, what is it, tricorder?
Yeah.
Is that what it's called?
Yes. No, it's a different thing, but I'm not sure.
Fuck.
Some kind of medical device.
Yeah, and she's like, well, I knew how to use this. Mm-hmm. And this woman's like, yeah, but what am I here doing in a bathing suit? And then she's like, oh no, my arm hurts. That's why I'm here.
Yeah.
So then Kieran tells Worf that, oh, we've heard from all decks. Everyone has been, like, the memory's been affected. And then Worf sitting in the captain's chair. And Worf, of course, takes inventory of the ship's weapons, as one does. Mm-hmm. So then Ro is like, I'm going to go to engineering. And Riker's like, hold on. Like, I feel like we got to, like, make a plan because we don't know what the fuck's happening. We don't want to, like, lose track of people. And Ro admits, like, she doesn't... Oh, I very much felt this. She's like, I don't really like this because, like, I have no control. I don't really understand what's going on. And it's like, I feel that in my core.
Yeah.
In the core of my everything.
Don't like not having control.
Yes, I don't like not knowing what's going on. So, Worf is like, okay, we're gonna get ready for battle, and Picard's like, maybe we figure out who we are first.
Yeah, who we know who we're shooting at, or
yeah. So, okay, Geordi then lets the bridge crew know. Oh, they're in. Geordi says that he figures out that he's regained control of weapons, navigation, propulsion, and communications. And Worf goes, well done, now we are ready. And Picard makes, like, a face, and he goes, question is,
I find
what?
that scene really amusing because it's, like, peak stereotype Worf in that, like, he almost has an erection over, like, now we are ready. We've got guns.
His phaser's on standby. Okay, so then Picard's like, hey, maybe we run a complete diagnostic of all the command systems, and Worf's like, that would require them to take all the systems offline and leave them defenseless, just when they have complete tactical control of the ship. But then Kieran's like, hey, maybe we should do the diagnostic. And Worf's like, okay, fine. So Dr. C is running brain scans, but, like, is this in the group meeting? Maybe not yet. Okay, so Dr. C's been running, like, brain scans, but has nothing to compare them to at the moment of, like, what's going on. So, like, she needs access to medical files, but you can't get access to it due to the diagnostic. And Worf has, like, such disdain for the fact that their systems are down while they do this. Then I wrote, so okay, Riker and Ro have, like, they're doing, like, a survey going around to just see if they can, just taking, I guess, inventory of the people. Mm-hmm. And
Ro
they're being very flirty on their way to 10 Forward. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I have mixed feelings about this. Like, I hope this is just for this episode. Because, like, I like these characters separately and maybe as, like, a friendship, but not romantically. So I'm hoping this is just, they leave it as it is. Well, at the end of this episode, not right now, because this is, okay. So then this is their exchange. So Rose says, so if everything were back to the way it was supposed to be, what do you think you'd be doing right now? And then Riker says, I'd be having more fun than searching the ship, I'd imagine. Ro goes, fun? Riker says, well, with that holodeck we just saw, I think I could conjure up an interesting program or two. And then Ro goes, no, that's disappointing. Riker goes, why? And she goes, you don't strike me as a man who needs a holodeck to have a good time.
She's talking about putting the PP in the other place.
Yeah, Ro obviously doesn't know about Minuet.
Yeah.
Riker's already had a great time in the holodeck. Actually, honestly, I do miss a holodeck adventure. I miss a Riker one. Yeah, I miss Riker's really kind of like rando Riker's holodeck adventures, because those are really funny. Not on purpose, but okay, so they enter 10 Forward, and Troy is in there. She's the representative, and she's like, okay, two things. Number one, something's going on with this android right here. Mm-hmm. So Data has now he's become oh god, what's the word? A method actor and become a bartender.
Yeah.
He's really immersed in this bartender role. But even Data can't remember like who he is and what his deal is. So Troy also, she's also like, the second problem is I'm a bit
psychic.
Yeah.
But then she's like, oh, there's like something about Riker that kind of triggers something for her, some kind of familiarity. And I was like, oh, cute. She touches his like hair multiple times
I thought
in this episode.
those scenes, like I get why they're doing them. It's just in the current context of the year 2023, it's a little weird.
Yeah, it also, I don't know, I think like I don't necessarily have a problem with Troy like recognizing Riker in some way. It was just like getting like a familiar feeling. It just is like, but
what I'm okay with regarding it is that it is specifically Troy who has these feelings, and like that makes a lot of sense because maybe this weird alien thing did not account for absolutely everything, and she does flat out say it's like remembering an emotion. So there's a familiarity that couldn't really be eliminated with this memory wipe thing.
Yeah. Okay, so the personnel files have become sort of available. Like most things are not available, but the crew manifest is. And we learn, at this point, we don't know who Kieran is, but we learn he is Executive Officer Kieran McDuff. And then basically the rest is just like a roll call of people being told their names and their position.
Executive officer means first officer, which means he's the rank that Riker is. And then they made Riker the second officer.
Yeah, I noticed that. I was like, Riker got demoted in this memory.
To be honest,
thing.
I was having fun imagining you watching this episode just being like, who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah, I had some theories. Like pretty quickly I was like, oh, this is definitely representative of, once they said what their mission was, I was like, okay, I know who this guy is.
Yeah.
I was able to figure it out very quickly.
Especially when he starts grinning at the camera.
Yeah. I also like, I just called him Rando so many times because I was like, what is he doing here? It's like, obviously they don't give people lines for nothing, although they have given people lines for nothing. But yeah, then when they said his name, I was like, this guy is Kieran McDuff? Mm-hmm. This man does not look like his name is Kieran McDuff, but listen, I guess
I'm surprised they didn't come up with like a more generic name because they didn't understand their data banks very well. Like, I don't know, John Johnson.
Yeah, or they should have just called him Batty McBad Guy.
I'm down for that, actually.
Okay, so then Worf apologized to Picard for his like little power trip, which was cute.
It shows that Worf does indeed have honor.
Yes, of course. I would expect nothing less. So then we learn in the group meeting that the Federation is in a state of war with the Lysian Alliance, who are a genocidal race determined to destroy them. And I was like, what the fuck? No, we're not. I feel like we would have heard about this beforehand. It's like, I didn't actually get it, that like, I was confused a little because I was like, This doesn't make sense. I feel like we would have heard about this before. How could they be our mortal enemies? And this is the first time I'm hearing about this. But then I was also like, on the other hand, this also could be totally plausible. Because Star Trek will do that. They'll be like, surprise, it's actually this bad guy we're dealing with. I'm like, okay, but what? So I was like, okay, this is weird. So Starfleet believes the Lysians are using a new weapon which has shifted the balance of power in their favor. Over the last 2 months, 14 Federation vessels have been captured and held on their planet, apparently very easily. Scientists theorize the Lysians are using an energy wave, either plasma-based or subspace interference pattern. The weapon severely disrupts a starship computer system as well as the mental functions of its crew. It's like, that seems like that's too much.
Yeah.
It is
Like-
pretty far-fetched.
Yeah, it was like, wow, that's like too ambitious.
Okay,
Calm down, girl.
let me lay something out. This episode had been like reworkshopped several times before they finally got to writing a script for it. The idea got pitched actually last season with a couple of other Amnesia episodes. It was pitched alongside Future Imperfect and the other memory loss one in that season. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. And they ended up holding off on it because they didn't quite find a way to deal with the original idea for it. And Michael Piller actually stated, like, while this episode was fine, he wasn't entirely happy with the change from the original idea, which they wanted to explore the concept of, high concept, I will add, of drafting soldiers by rewriting their memories. Yeah. He thought that idea had a lot more potential and a lot more like moralist storytelling potential. Eventually, it was something that Voyager would cover in a much worse way later on. Voyager decided to create a very specific dialect for the species that did it, and they kept using really bad synonyms for regular words, and it just made them sound fucking stupid. Like, instead of saying, do you see them over there? They would say, do your eyes glimpse them? And I'm just like, Jesus fucking
God.
Christ, stop it.
Yeah.
that
Oh
episode's
God, I remember
painful.
that now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty bad. That's the only memorable part of the episode, but I think the original idea probably could have done maybe like a 50-50 chance of it being good in TNG. I know they got some good ideas in TNG, and they had a pretty strong writing team, but it's a far-fetched idea, and unless you are going full ham on the idea of it being propaganda, then I don't know what kind of story they would really try to tell with it, because propaganda is something that's used very, very well even today to recruit people. So using that in conjunction with like a memory wipe thing, I think could have been effective if they had done it right. But I mean, this episode is fine. I enjoy it.
It's not bad. Yeah. Okay, so like then they learned the current mission is to cross into Lycian territory and destroy their central command, and Troy's like, I feel like that's not correct.
Yeah. Or maybe we should verify this.
Fun fact, you've seen the Lycian Central Command before. That exact model was used all the way back in season 1 as the guardian of the Edo. In
Remember the
Justice?
fuck planet?
Yeah, the sex planet.
Oh,
yeah, this was the guardian of their sex paradise. Yes. It looked a lot more like washed out in that episode. They tried to give it kind of like a semi-transparent, ethereal look, and this one's much more substantial, obviously. And I think the angle was
and they
different.
gave it all kinds of like tiny lights and stuff on it.
Yeah.
But I recognize the model. I'm like, is that the fucking Guardian?
Yep. Oh, actually, fun fact, that's not even the only connection that this episode has to season 1. When Riker plays the trombone to kind of show it off to Troy later on in the episode, it turns out that he's playing the same song that he played when he stepped onto the holodeck and said, "And a bone for me."
Yeah, so, Troy's like, maybe we should confirm with headquarters, but then they're like, but then, like, if we use the radio, like, we'll be detected, and, like, that's real convenient. So, there's, like, a whole other plan of, like, ships are doing their part, but the Enterprise is the linchpin, and if they don't destroy Central Command, the entire effort will fail. And it all feels very sketchy. So Riker brings Troy to her room, and Troy's like, nothing about this feels right. The only thing that's familiar is you.
Oh, Wesley.
And then, she touches his face again. Then she gets good feelings from him, though, and I was like, okay, that's cute, I guess. So now we're in Riker's room, and I wrote, we know we're in Riker's room because the bone is right at the door. So, Oh yeah, so then like we pan over and Ro is sitting in the room. She's also wearing this cute taupe dress that honestly looks a lot like my prom dress, but just in taupe. My prom dress was green, but it looks kind of like it.
Yeah.
I was like, huh, that's nice.
It looked really comfy and nice.
Yeah, she looked really good.
Yeah.
So she's like, oh, maybe I hang out in this room a lot. Maybe we're married. And Riker's like, or maybe we hate each other.
Yeah.
And then she's like, she's in his quarters because she, quote unquote, she didn't like how her quarters were decorated. Lol. So then she sits on Riker's lap and starts to kiss his neck. Then they kiss. And then Riker's like, what if I snore in my sleep? And she's like, what makes you think you're going to get any sleep?
Yeah.
Bow chicka bow wow.
Yeah. It was like, oh damn. So then okay, so back to the bridge. They will get to the command in Elysian command in 37 hours. But Elysian destroyer is in visual range. And I just wrote looks like a fish.
They've actually used this ship a couple of times in the series. They tend to kit bash it a little bit. Kit bashing is when they take a model and they make like minor modifications using other pieces that they've got lying around. Mm-hmm. So yeah, this ship you've actually seen several times already, and I think they reuse it several more times coming up. This kind of like diamond / triangular design. It comes up quite a bit.
Mm. So then, yeah, like orders are to destroy all Elysian starships. And Kieran is like getting real trigger happy. Mm-hmm. So the Elysian ship is hailing the Enterprise and Kieran's like, no, we shouldn't answer. And just like destroy. Oh, he's like, we shouldn't answer and just like destroy them. So the Elysians power up and then the Enterprise explodes them.
Yeah.
So then team meeting. Dr. C says that she found some stuff in the medical index. Causes of memory loss are different, but the cure is similar in each case. So Riker's like, would that work on us? And Dr. C's like, hopefully. So it involves increasing the activity of the medial temporal region of the brain using short-term memory synapses to retrieve long-term memory. I don't fucking understand what that means, but listen. But she is very adamant that like she needs to wait for the medical files to be available. Mm-hmm. Because like, yeah, she's a good doctor and she's like, we're not going, all rogue on testing people and doing shit if we don't know what their medical histories are and shit.
Yeah. So
now Geordi has hit a roadblock with the computer and he tells Data that he must have Data's like going real fast and shit and figuring out some stuff on the computer and Geordi's like, oh, you must have been a hell of a bartender. And he's like, but also you're super fucking cool. So Data then contemplates the his various origin scenarios, which include that maybe there's a colony of AIs with their own like history and shit, or there's maybe a single Data on every ship that's just like Data copies, or maybe he was just built for the Enterprise, or maybe he has a unique origin and is like,
maybe I am alone.
So then we learn that there is that there's heavy damage to like basically all the files that could help them identify each other and jobs and shit. So like mission reports, crew logs, personal records, etc. So then Troy visits Riker and she's like, listen, I am very concerned over this war. It gives her the ick, basically. Mm-hmm. And Riker's like, maybe it'll feel better once we finish murdering everybody and we complete the mission. So then Riker apparently has been doing some research about himself and learns that he plays the trombone. This made me laugh. Loves to climb mountains. I'm like, since when? But I'll allow it. That he's from Alaska, which I always forget. That always feels like such a surprise every time I hear it. Even though, like, we know this. Enjoys exotic food and takes his vacations on a planet called Ryza. But he also finds a book called Ode to Psyche by John Keats that was given to him a gift from Troy, which is cute. And like they are about to kiss, and then Ro comes by, and then Troy and Riker get so awkward in front of Ro. It's like if a parent walks in on like a couple and they're just like, okay, well, like, see you later, boy.
Yeah.
It's cute, but it's funny. Geordi finds it weird how specific the computer attack was. It's like any records of personal nature, like any the files that could like tell us who people are gone, and like, oh, they've got like selective memory, so like they still have their like hard skills, but they like don't know who the fuck they are, what they're supposed to be doing. So Dr. C is really hesitant to do the treatment without medical records. But Kieran's like, it's cool, I volunteer as tribute and I'll do it.
Of course, because he's the bad guy.
Yeah, so it goes poorly. He starts to like shake and whatever. And then she's like, something went wrong with the sequence initiator. Luckily, they didn't lose him. Are we lucky?
Yeah.
Are we? And then he turns his face away towards away from Dr. C towards the camera and does like a very creepy face. And I was like, we know you're the villain already. Why are you doing this?
Yeah, we know because you're just a guy. Like,
yeah, you're not part of the gang. Like, who are you?
Yeah, we don't need.
Who is she?
Yeah, we don't need you making faces at the camera.
Yeah. So then Picard wants to speak to Kieran about the mission, and he's just like, there are fundamental. Oh God, what did I write? I don't know what I wrote. Doubts. Okay. He's fundamental doubts about whether it can be justified. And Kieran's like, same. But then he's full of shit. Mm-hmm. So Picard says, I feel as though I've been handed a weapon, sent into a room, and told to shoot a stranger. I mean, yes. It's like literally what do you think the mission is? Then he continues, well, I need some moral context to justify that action, and I don't have it. I'm not content simply to obey orders. I need to know that what I'm doing is right. Like, oh, Picard, that hasn't stopped you before. And then Kieran's like, yeah, totally, same. But if you want to like wait until we've figured out the memory stuff, that's like totally cool. But is it right to prolong this war, to allow needless deaths of thousands on both sides, solely on the basis of our moral discomfort? And then we just cut to Picard looking out the big window, and I'm like, yeah. Kieran, yeah, we should fucking wait. We should learn.
There's a great series that I watched a while ago. That's it's a YouTube like kind of video essay series / informational series, and it kind of explores motivations of like right-wing culture war kinds of people in the English-speaking political sphere, and it goes through a process that specifically the alt-right got really big on about 7 or 8 years ago in like internet arguing, which is assuming that their argument is correct in order to argue the next one, which catches you off guard and puts you on the defensive. And that's exactly the way that Macduff argues. It's, okay, let's already assume that I'm correct. What happens then? And then he makes that argument instead. And he keeps doing that because it puts, it should theoretically put Picard or whoever he's arguing with in a position where they now have to defend something that they didn't agree with in the first place. But they have to defend the other argument that Picard is essentially arguing, well, yeah, but the chance is that isn't true. And so Macduff is skipping that part altogether, and he's saying, okay, but it's true. Now what? And that's the problem, because it puts people in like kind of a guilty position where they suddenly have to argue against something that they didn't agree with, and so you've got this vicious cycle going back and forth where Macduff is continually arguing continually ignoring the position that, well, what if this is bullshit? Instead, it's just what happens when it's not.
Yeah.
So then after this conversation with Picard, Kieran goes to meet with Worf. And I'm like, this bitch gonna try to mutiny? Because that's
Well, yeah.
yes.
I mean, they're trying to mutiny because he's being lit from behind, and he's sitting in a very dim room, and inviting other officers to his quarters, and not actually giving them orders, but giving them vaguely presented suggestions.
Yeah, because Kieran's like, Worf, we're not like other girls. We want to fight.
Yeah.
And we're warriors. And he's like, the captain's a diplomat. And like, there's time for diplomacy, but this is not it. And Kieran's like, Worf, there will come a moment where if we don't kill something, it will kill everyone we know and us. And we can't let that happen. And Worf's just like, his face after he just like turns away, his like, he's just like, uh-oh.
Worf's
like,
getting a lot of like extreme close-ups in this episode.
Yeah. The funny thing is, you can see in that scene, Worf's like not on board with what this guy is saying.
Yeah.
He's like, this is, uh-oh.
Yeah, especially what we know about Worf's character. It's like, there's no way he's going to mutiny against the captain. Like,
that's dishonorable.
Yeah.
Okay, so now they're entering the Lysian system. Red alert, battle stations. So the Enterprise starts firing at these little pods and they explode. And then they arrive at Central Command and I wrote like, I can't figure out what this is supposed to like remind me of. Because like so many things I'm like, okay, this looks like a thing with a thing. But this just looks like I just thought of it. This looks like a really bad like video game controller. So then the Enterprise, they're like, wait, like, what are the weapons on this is like pretty like shit. So like the Enterprise could literally overtake this ship with like one photon torpedo. And there's over 15,000 people on this station. So they're like, this feels a little sketchy.
Yeah.
And Riker's like, how could our mortal enemy be over 100 years behind us in weapons technology? And then Picard's like, yeah, I don't fire on defenseless people. And then Picard asks Worf to open a channel to the Lysians. And Kieran then fucking screams, belay that order! There's something wrong with the captain. I'm taking command of this vessel. Fire all weapons. And Worf's like, now!
Yeah.
And then Kieran throws him like past his like the control panel, like to the other side of the room, and everybody is like, gasp! Who saw this coming? Okay, all of us. So then Riker then fires like the phaser at Kieran, and you see like a gross skeleton or something, and I was like, eh.
Kind of reminded me of Merrick in season 2 Conspiracy.
It made me think of like, okay, you know, in The Mummy when like there's like the kind of CGI skeletons.
Oh yeah.
That it kind of reminded me of that a little bit for the brief flashes. So then like Worf also fires a phaser at Kieran, and then like Kieran falls down and is dead. So then the ship, their Enterprise is now on a course to Starbase 301. Dr. C is restoring the memories of the crew. Turns out Kieran was a Centauran, an alien race that's been at war with the Lysians for decades. And Picard's like, yeah, thoughts and prayers to the Lysians over the tragedy that we caused on their ship and shit.
Yeah.
So, as it turns out, Kieran needed the Enterprise because the Centauran's weapons were also garbage. So he needed the like big firepower of the Enterprise. So, yeah, that was like, okay, that's weird. Okay, so now we get to the funniest part of this whole episode.
Yeah.
Also known as the Rikers in the doghouse moment.
This is my favorite part.
Yeah,
this is by
great.
far my favorite part of the episode. So Riker walks into 10 Forward and sees Troy and Rose sitting at a table together, and he's just like, oh shit.
Oh, no.
Fuck me. And then he like cautiously approaches, and Rose like, oh, wanted to run into you. And Troy's like, sit down. And then Riker,
Why don't you have a seat right there?
yeah, Riker does the most awkward, like, sit I've ever seen ever.
Yeah, he doesn't
'Cause, like,
even
you know,
do his special move.
He doesn't do the, yeah, he just like awkwardly like, kind of like slinks, but like also just slink slumps into the chair. It's really awkward. And then he's like, oh, well, I'm glad I ran into the two of you. When there are no memory of who you are or anyone else, anyone else's, you find yourself. And then Rose like, the counselor tells me that at times like these, we might do the things that we've always wanted to do. And then Riker's like, she said that? Like, he is shocked in every single sentence that happens in this scene. And then Troy says, it's psychologically valid. I mean, that's debatable. But then Rose says, Commander, don't worry about it. As far as I'm concerned, you and I have shared something that we will treasure forever. And then she gets up and walks away. And then Riker goes, well, I'm a little confused. And then Troy says, well, if you're still confused tomorrow, you know where my office is.
Oh, it's great.
I was like, this is like potential to be like the Vosh and Dr. C moment where Picard's like, oh no.
Yeah.
But this felt worse.
Yeah.
For Riker.
Oh.
It was okay. This episode was fine. This last scene I loved it. It was so funny. Riker just being like, oh, fuck me. At the bottom, I just wrote, oh, Riker, you horny slut.
Yeah.
I love you.
Yeah. And I really appreciated that it was Riker who was embarrassed and not Ro or Troy.
Yeah.
Because I feel like any other show, it would be like, oh, haha, Ro, you got.
Yeah.
But it was like, no, like, Riker, you're the one that fucked up.
Yeah, and I like how Ro made it like, oh, this will be something that, we'll treasure forever. And he was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
I love it. I loved it. Ro, always so happy to see her. Yeah, this was, I don't love like the idea of, I'm assuming that from this point on, like they're just like either friends or like coworkers.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I'm very fine with.
Yeah, as far as I remember, yeah, it doesn't really turn into
like,
anything.
I'm fine about this fling, but like I don't think like they're both hot people, but sometimes not all hot people should like date.
Yeah.
Like visually, I don't see them like they don't. You kind of can look at a couple of people and be like, oh yeah, they look good together. Mm-hmm. They don't look good together in my head.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the dynamic is better as like just colleagues and stuff.
Yeah. They were fun in this episode though.
Yeah.
And I do like that it's not, as you said, or like it's not, she's not being shamed. She's not even awkward about it. Mm-hmm. He's the one who's like, oh, fuck me.
Yeah.
Oh no. I did find it funny though how Troy was like, she starts off the sentence like, well, if you're still confused tomorrow, and then she's like, come find me tomorrow. Her voice changes. Angry. Which, like, I don't blame her. I hope they tease him about this for a long time.
I think you're expecting too much from Star Trek.
I know, I always expect too much from Star Trek.
Well,
that's my fatal flaw.
Yeah, we can imagine that he gets teased off camera.
That's true, yeah.
Yes, I would love that. Yeah, so like, I mean, this episode was fine. And I mean, listen, I will take it because of the last few episodes have been such like bummers / duds-ish. So like, this was not as fun as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah,
I thought it was going to be a little more goofy and silly, but like it's fine. I'll take it.
Yeah, I remember it being like, I forgot how like it's not like serious per se, but like the episode takes itself more
Yeah, it
seriously
does.
than I remembered.
It does.
Yeah, because I thought like the whole I thought the whole Worf being captain thing went on a bit longer, and the data bartender thing went on longer, but yeah, no, it doesn't. But I do think it's in my opinion, I'm pretty satisfied with the mystery and stuff, and I kind of really like. I mean, eventually they start doing the thing where he's like mugging to the camera or whatever, but I really like at first how they just treat Macduff as if he's always been there, and like it's not weird that he's here.
That said, there are some pretty serious flaws with the narrative in this episode, I think. Mainly the fact that putting Macduff there as like a second officer was clearly a mistake because their thing works well enough that they could have just put him in charge.
Yeah.
And then there's I mean, because the episode needs a way for the crew to resist this as part of their human nature. So, like, I get it. I understand why they did it from a narrative perspective, because they wanted to make the episode more interesting and have a clearer conclusion that way. But in terms of the actual strategy of these aliens, clearly it was not a great one. There are some really, really obvious gaps in their thinking that they could have resolved. I don't know if this is the first time they've tried this or what, but, you know, it definitely could have gone better for them if they were thinking clearly about it.
Yeah.
I would say the episode requires the villains to be mildly incompetent. Yeah, that's not really uncommon, even like outside of Star Trek. That is something that a lot of media does. I just thought it was a little obvious this time around.
Yeah, no, I agree.
But that said, yeah, I still enjoy it.
Yeah, it didn't affect my enjoyment of the episode. Like, I just kind of ran with it. Like, I'm like, yeah,
On that
I'll just
note,
roll
we
with
did
this.
get a couple of lovely little tidbits of information. We found out that Picard's birthday is July 13th. Yep, that was displayed on the screen when they were looking into who one another is. We did not get to see Riker's birthday.
Shit on the screen.
That they did a cutaway to Ro giving Riker a look when they said who he was. So we didn't see that. We briefly saw that Data's activation date is February 2nd, which I guess would be his birthday. There we go. And we found out that Commander Macduff's birthday is the same as mine, that fucking bastard. How dare he steal my righteous day?
Oh, you know what this means is that we don't know Worf's birthday.
That's right. That's right. They did not cover that either.
We missed the chance to discover Worf's birthday. That sucks.
I'm sure it's like the 23rd day of Makta or something like that.
Yeah. I'm sure he has an Earth birth date because he was raised on Earth.
Ah, yes, an Earth Day.
So here's a question. Something that I thought about watching this episode. Let me go back to my other note. So the children on the ship, if they got their memories wiped, how fucking scary that be? And like, when they looked at Worf's personnel file, would that have said that that Alexander's on board?
Oh, jeez, yeah.
Because then,
probably.
Worf does not go to see Alexander at all.
That doesn't shock me.
And I would hope the second that he got he got any kind of information, he'd run down to see Alexander. But
yeah, that's true.
The idea that this kid just have no fucking idea, and the fact that he's also the only Klingon, that would probably make him really scared. And all the kids in general, but to me, Alexander just this kid's been enough fucking trauma of people leaving him, and then he loses his memory, and then doesn't fucking know if he even has a parent or anything on the ship. And when did Worf if Worf?
I mean, let's face it. We've seen very little of Alexander so far, and we realize that he doesn't connect particularly well with Worf, and Worf doesn't connect particularly well with him. You're definitely going to see
but I would think
more of that between them.
Well, like, I didn't need a scene with it, but I just was, like, thinking about it of just, like, when Worf saw his personnel file, and if it listed that, like, Alexander was on the ship, like, I would have expected, I don't know, him to just, like, immediately go to try to find Alexander or something. But no, I guess it's very much I wonder if the writers forgot.
That could be.
Probably.
Poor Alexander.
Yeah, I think they probably forgot that children are on this ship at all.
Yes.
Because, like,
or they just
that must have been
ignored
so-
it.
Well, they did show us a brief shot
that
of
would've been so
Ensign
scary.
Zuckerberg.
Who's Ensign Zuckerberg?
He's the guy that they have, like, a brief scene with that looks like Mark Zuckerberg. It's when Riker and
God, I don't even remember.
Riker and Ro are, like, perusing around the ship to let everyone know to hang tight. Oh. And there's that one guy that has, like, two lines.
He's in the room.
Yeah.
Yes,
the thing
yes,
is, like, that guy looks human.
That's
so
true, yeah.
I didn't really get Mark Zuckerberg from it.
It's the haircut.
Yeah.
I do like that several of the characters' personalities come through anyway, like, regardless of this. So, like, you get you get Picard starting to, like, think sharply in the on the bridge, like, before he's even actually in command. He's the one who's drawing logical conclusions before others are, and thinking relatively quick on his feet, which is kind of what Picard is known for as the captain. Some of the other character traits don't come through quite as much. I mean, I guess you could argue that with Ro, what you're getting is Ro uninhibited, which is not something that you would regularly get from her, just because her personality is so defined by her past experience with other people, and now she's finally in a situation where she doesn't have that inhibition. So, yeah, you could argue that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that, like, you know, Geordi's personality comes through other than him being the engineer or anything like that. But, like, yeah. But, like, he and...
Or thinking Data's cool.
He and the Doctor don't really get that many scenes, for instance. So I can forgive them for not really focusing on that.
Which is too bad.
Yeah. It's kind of like... It's like all their instincts are still there because, like, it feels like everyone's still, like everyone kind of instinctually follows Picard until they
Yes.
and Picard kind of instinctually tries to lead until Worf is like, hey, I have, like, fancy shit on too.
I've got the sash. Clearly I'm the boss.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not an unreasonable...
Oh, no. I don't think
thing,
it is.
but-
It's just, as I said,
It is
Worf,
funny, yeah.
Worf is in charge mostly because he yells first and the loudest.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, this episode is, like, it's a fine, entertaining episode. Like, I think you'll enjoy it if you watch it, but it's not, like, too deep.
And it's not
honestly.
particularly important. It doesn't really have a message either.
Yeah, so we'll move on to favorite moments and lines.
The last scene with Riker, Troy, and Ro.
Yeah.
That was great. I liked that Geordi thought that Data was cool, and Data had sort of a moment of like optimism of like, oh, the endless, like, there's so many possibilities of what my origins are. And oh, Data. Yeah, I guess that's kind of it.
I actually like that they Troy is kind of like the one in this episode. Like, she beats Data at chess, at 3D chess, and then she's the one that's like, hey, maybe we should, like, verify this first, and, like, hey, this feels really wrong, like, this doesn't quite make sense. And basically no one fucking listens to her until, like, the very end.
Yeah.
But she's right.
Yeah.
So I like that. Because like Troy's gotten a lot of shit.
Yeah.
You know, recently especially. So it's nice to see her like have some competence and like, you know, be shown being like smart and stuff.
I think for me, I really like that Worf has an actual arc in this episode. Like the scenes don't really focus on character growth or anything like that for him, but it begins with him, you know, naturally assuming a commanding role in a social group as Worf does, and you know, kind of taking charge of things, and then leads to him showing humility and in the end having to make a choice between his instinctual ideas about the way that he thinks things should be done and his own honorable intentions, and I really like that. Also, you get a lot of close-ups of Worf just like looking kind of uncomfortable as things do not go for him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I did like when Kieran was like, come on, let's mutiny. And then Worf walks out and is like, ooh.
I like that as
boy.
soon as Worf found out about him not being in command, he kind of like quietly scoffed and turned around and immediately looked like, oh, God fucking damn it. But then like right after that part of the scene, he goes up to the captain and apologizes. And I'm just like, good for you, Worf. You're a good guy.
Well, yeah, I interpreted it as him being like super embarrassed.
Okay, yeah, you're
Because
probably
it's
right,
like-
actually.
Like
Yeah,
not only is he not the captain, he's like not even a lieutenant commander. Like he's security chief. Yeah, if that's it, let's move on to predictions for the next episode.
Sweet.
So we're actually hitting a stretch of more serious episodes.
Quite serious episodes,
boy.
yes.
Yeah.
With some pretty heavy moments and themes across them.
This next one is not that, as far as I
It
remember.
has some heavy moments. There's definitely some really intense moments in the scene or in the episode.
Yeah, for sure, but it's not like a super like moral
No.
ethical
No, not at all.
question. Yeah. Anyway, so the next episode is called Power Play. And your tidbit for this episode is that the Enterprise comes across a distress signal from a long-lost ship on a dangerous planet.
A long-lost ship on a dangerous planet.
Yeah, like a ship that had crashed on the planet. Or I don't know if it crashed, but it's landed and or crashed.
Okay. Well, with the title Power Play, okay. So the ship may be... Okay. Oh, okay. So, okay. The ship, they're doing whatever. They crash on the planet, and they really don't fucking want to be there. But maybe when they landed, they needed to, like... They send out the thing, but the whole thing of this is that they want to take the Enterprise. But the Enterprise doesn't have the like resources to like hold everything. So maybe it's like this crew doesn't want to stay on this planet anymore, wants to get out of it, so wants the Enterprise, but that means the Enterprise crew can't stay there. So I don't think it'd be a bet, because I don't know who would make a fucking bet about like switching ships. If that's what it is, though, I'm gonna die. But no, I'm kidding. But I think, yeah, that the whoever crashed, they call the Enterprise down, and their Enterprise is thinking this is like a rescue, but actually like they want to just like take the ship. And leave the Enterprise crew there on the... Because maybe they need, like, certain, like, people to be on this planet to, like, even some, like, stuff out. Just as, like, if it's dangerous. I don't know if dangerous in terms of, like, there's already, like, inhabitants that are dangerous. Or it's, like, natural disaster dangerous or if it's a lava planet. But say it's dangerous because there's inhabitants that are like dangerous there. And so they promise, okay, we'll get you like different people, let us live, we'll get you somebody else and we'll be out of your hair. And so then they put like a signal to bring the Enterprise to the planet. And the Enterprise knew that like, oh, they crashed. So then they find them and then they try to take the Enterprise and leave the Enterprise crew on the planet.
All right. Sweet.
I'm going to assume I'm very wrong.
Well, we'll have to see, won't we? If you want to see if Dory's correct, watch along with us and join us for the next episode of Fully Functional, a TNG podcast.
Goodbye.